Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Football League Cup podcast. Now, as you know, the transfer window is now officially open, and I feel the biggest name in the transfer window this summer is going to be Borussia Dortmund's Jadon Sancho. Now, I know a lot of Manchester United fans and Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans, etc., are interested in Jadon Sancho's situation. So today, Chris is going to be doing a brief podcast where he's going to be delivering all the Sancho news out there and what we can expect to come. Chris?
Hello, guys. It's Chris here. I'm Football League owner. So, firstly, I just want to talk about. There's a lot of conflicting reports on Twitter, which you've probably seen, Fred, yourself, about where the deal is, what the position of each club is, and how that is progressing. So, what I want to do firstly is talk about last summer, and then we'll move on towards what is currently happening, so that people understand the picture. Because a lot of fans are, and I say this in the politest way, a little bit not patient in terms of where the deal is, and the transfer window is only just opened. So we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing I'll tell you is that obviously last summer, Manchester United were in a position of where they needed to act responsible. Okay. And that's not always the greatest thing for fans to hear when a club has to act responsibility. But, they were in a pandemic. So, and I mentioned 6 weeks before the window opened that the deal was off, and people were still talking about the deal being on, which was, as you know, Fred, I was quite adamant about that. So the deal there was never going to get done at 120 million euros, because that was a ridiculous fee. And I think you'd probably agree with me on that one. Manchester United didn't know what was going to happen in the pandemic. There was no vaccine. There was nothing to say that the fans could go back, or there was no time limit. The governing bodies like the FA didn't know. So there was a lot of confusion around that. So United had to act responsible, and that's fair enough. And people need to understand that they're not a club like Man City or those sort of clubs or Chelsea, where they can just go and spend left, right, and centre because of the way the Glazers are. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So that's where we were last summer. And now what we've got at the moment is a lot of reports saying that terms haven't been agreed, or Manchester United are not speaking to Dortmund, which you've seen, or, there's been a lot of recycled stuff. There's been a lot of briefs around how the deal's going on with Sancho. So the first thing I would tell you is that the wages and the agent fees are already sorted. Now, United have been in direct dialogue for a long time with the agents. Now, the only thing they would have needed to do in the last in the last week or so, is just speak to the agent regarding the different type of contract now, because it's a 1 year on, or any small changes. And that's absolutely fine, because they will always be speaking to the agent. They are speaking to Dortmund as well directly, but this isn't something like, when a lot of fans, and you would agree with me, Fred, is that fans compare Manchester United transfers with a lot of different clubs, okay? So let's take, for instance, I've seen some stuff around, Aston Villa can sign players, but those players are only 30 and 40 million pound deals.
Yeah.
These are not global phenomenon stars that have to be transferred to a different club and have that sort of presence. So you've got to take into account that those deals are not complicated. So, when United are speaking to Dortmund, they're talking about the structure of the fee, how much is going up front, and any particular bonuses or add-ons that are required. And that's normal process in the transfer to do. Now, United are extremely confident about getting this deal done as soon as possible, but it's around the timing of doing the deal. So we're not that far away from the Euros. So why would you announce a deal before the Euros? As a Manchester United fan, does that seem relevant to you for the club to start making announcements now before the Euros hit? Why not do it towards the end? You see, the club are still negotiating that deal. And, the transfer window doesn't finish until the 31st of August. So that's a lot of time, Fred. Now, people will say, oh, but the club that he's going to Euros, it makes no difference, because you can get an agreement with a club through the Euros, and then he can do his medical and sign the contract afterwards. So United are extremely relaxed about the deal. The issue is the fans are not relaxed about the deal. And I understand that from the last year's pain. But this is where I will talk a little bit about the media. Now, the media want to stay relevant, okay? And they will send out reports, or they will cycle briefs, and they'll do all these little things that they do to stay relevant, because they've, most of their accounts, a lot of their followers, and this is no disrespect, but I'm very transparent in what I do, is around 50 to 70% of their followers only care about the Manchester United or Sancho deal, okay? If you look at them.
Yeah.
But of course, they're going to ride and stay relevant to it. So a lot of the reports that have gone out have been very old or recycled. So there is a guy, there's a guy that's very close to Dortmund, and there's a guy that's extremely reliable, which is Patrick Berger, which you've probably heard about, Fred. Now, he's extremely close to Dortmund, and his links are saying that there's official talks, which I've been communicated to as well, that there are official talks going on with Dortmund. Okay, but both of the clubs are confident that a deal can be agreed. Now, I know we've heard this before, but United were not going to pay 120 million last summer. We're talking about a fee now of 80 million, which is a massive decrease in that type of quality player that he is. So, and what you have to remember is the Glazers are under extreme pressure, especially after the forum meeting where they were talking about investments, to actually deliver and make sure they sustain their ownership in the club, because they don't want any more protests, because it's damaged them massively in terms of the sponsors. Now, I don't like the Glazers, but sometimes it's better to know that it's better than to know the devil than, do you see what I mean? So I just think fans need to be a little bit more patient with how the Sancho deal's going, but it's all on track and it's positive. So the deal will get done this summer. Now, obviously, Chelsea have been linked and Liverpool have been linked, but Liverpool have to sell the likes of Mane and Salah, which they're never going to do in this market, because no other club like Real Madrid or Barcelona or PSG are not going to be looking at those sort of players. So they're not going to be able to sign those types of players this summer. And Chelsea are apparently looking at Haaland, although I think that's a bit unrealistic, given how Dortmund and a lot of Chelsea fans think they're going to get him under 100 million. I'm baffled by that, because you know how Dortmund are. So I don't see that happening this summer. 12 months, maybe they've got a chance, but I just don't see it this summer for them. So, they're going to sell Sancho and they're going to sell him to Manchester United, but it's the timing around the deal. They've not revealed their kit yet. So they want the most traction of how they deal with that. So it's all about the timing for Manchester United and how they can recuperate a lot of money from those kits and from the statement they will make when they do sign Sancho. So people need to be mindful of that. These sort of high fee transfers, they take a long time. A lot of other clubs are not involved in big deals, Fred. Okay. So, yes, we can talk about Chelsea signing the likes of Havertz, or, there's other big clubs, but those deals are easier because, they're not big clubs that obviously they've bought them off. So people need to relax in that situation. But I will stress to the fans that you keep, and I stress this a lot, and I do, with the guys that, the ITKs, the in the nose and those sort of things, is that why would you think the likes of someone who's living in Norway gets the information before the media or before credible journalists or anyone that's has any connections or business connections to the club? So they don't help the matter as well. And I can't fathom why they do it. But they also don't help and there's some articles that might be released shortly on that. But, they don't help the fans. And this is the problem. It's a vicious circle. And obviously I get thousands of messages, even outside of the social platforms that we use for Football League Hub, for Sancho. So people just need to relax. The deal is on target, Fred. And I don't know what your thoughts are around it as a football fan.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because I'm telling you that the information I'm giving is 100% of where the deal is, and the wages are agreed, and they just need to know when to announce the deal. And this is all United are waiting for, really. I don't know what your thoughts are as a fan and what you think about it.
Well, from a realistic point of view, or from a source point of view, I totally agree with you when you say that track record is amazing. But from a fan's point of view, I think last year the price was just astronomical. He's totally not worth 120 million euros in any
100%.
window. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's, I think, a generational talent. I'd say that, but I don't think he's worth that. I think 90 million euros, 80 million euros is worth it. If
Yeah.
United do get him for 80 million euros, I think that kind of says everything about this whole saga, you can say. Because last year, I think United did offer Dortmund an 80 million euro deal, didn't they?
They
And
did, yes. It was 80
yeah,
million plus a few add-ons.
yeah,
And you're
and
right in that. Go on.
yeah, yeah, and Dortmund turned that deal down. So if Dortmund do come back down to 8, I know they are going through some financial problems. Obviously, the player
Mhm.
wants to leave desperately, but that would be a real low blow for them and their fans. But I think they expect that, and I expect the deal to go through in the first
Yeah.
few weeks after the European Championship.
Yeah, look, see, that's a realistic view. And what's been communicated with me is all been positive. Like last year, 6 weeks before, it was communicated to me that the deal wasn't going to get done and the deadline passed. So, Dortmund won't set a deadline this summer because they've not promised to the fans that they're going to keep Jadon Sancho this summer. They're actually open to sale, and their direct dialogue with Manchester United is there. It's not, harder than last summer. And realistically, they didn't really wanted to sell last summer, and that's fair enough. That's why they set the price as it was. But it's been communicated to me that the wages have been agreed, the personal terms are there, and it's just when United want to decide to do the deal. Now, a lot of people are saying send the bid and stuff, and it's quite easy to do, but they have to do it in the right manner that the club wants to do. You're not going to announce a player just before the Euros that he's coming to Manchester United, and that simply is not going to happen. But it's all positive, and I'm 100% communicated to me that the deal will get done. It's just that unfortunately we live in a world now where Twitter is the main source of information, where it used to not be the case
Yeah.
when we used to work on these things. But what it is now is there's a lot of Twitter handles, and I don't like to name names.
Mhm.
They recycle the same stuff week in, week out, daily. And that's what frustrates the fans, because they're not giving you anything that you already know.
Yeah.
So, someone can go and make a Twitter account or a fan and give the same information as what they're doing, because everyone knows that's common knowledge.
Yeah.
And the problem you've got is United and Dortmund don't want to this summer send numerous thousands of briefs out themselves, or they just want to do the deal together and get it done. So, some of the Twitter handles, some of the big ones, are no longer have got access to those, that particular source of information, because last summer it was mental, and some of the stuff that came out early on, United weren't happy about. So the deal is on track and it's on target and it's all positive. But what I will say before we go on to the questions is that some of the stuff that's coming out about official bids from some accounts, or the structure of the deal is coming out from some accounts, the ITKs and some of the journalists are way off the mark at the moment. There's been no official bid from the club at this point in time. But as I said, you can make a bid now within the next 5 minutes, Fred, or you can make an offer tonight. This is how quick transfers can get done. You've seen how deadline day works.
Yeah.
I get loads of phone calls around transfer deals that have only been negotiated with the club within the first 2 to 3 hours, and they've done the deal. So it's not like as if they've got a time limit and the time bomb goes off straight away, because they've got till the 31st of August, and realistically, again, it's a one-horse race with Manchester United, and they will win it, and they will sign Sancho. But it hasn't been dragged out. It's just the media has made it look like dragged out. United are very clear of what they want to do, and they're relaxed about the situation. And when United are relaxed about this situation, the deal will be done. And Ed, of course, when he leaves, he wants to leave a legacy. So he would be slightly involved in these deals. And he'd love to see all of this happen. So there's no issues and there's nothing to panic about. And if there was, I would tell you, you know what I'm like, I would tell you straight away if the deal was off or there was problems with the deal, and there isn't, and it's been communicated. And Sancho, to be honest, is already ready to join Manchester United, and he feels like he knows that he's already going to join Manchester United, and it's being communicated to him. So, and he's got a lot of good friends at United, and we know he's very close to the likes of Marcus. So the deal is fine. It's not been communicated to be bad to me. So I would say don't look at ITK accounts this summer. Don't look at some of the accounts that are recycling the same stuff, because it's just going to frustrate you. I will tell you when the deal is complete, and I haven't said that yet. And I've been clear on the particular timeline, as you know. And, you know, Byte Sports, BBC, Sky Sports have all reported the same stuff after I've sent it out. So people just need to relax a little bit on that. And I know it's difficult to say because obviously I'm not a Manchester United fan, but I'm in a situation of where I get to understand what's going on. So just the deal will be done. But just all I would say is go and enjoy the Euros. And then, you know, because that's a big thing going on.
Yeah.
And then you'll see all the stuff coming up. You know, we're going to get a few more updates come out in the next week or so for sure. But United can do this deal at any point. It's up to them. Everything else has been agreed. So, you know, it's positive. It's very positive this summer. And I expect Manchester United to have an extremely strong summer from what I'm hearing. So, we're in a good place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd also advise not to listen to ITKs, but if you do want the best transfer news, best football content generally, and an interactive community, make sure to tap the link in the description to join our Discord server. Obviously, like this video and subscribe to listen to, I mean, we just did a podcast where we reviewed the UEFA Champions League and UEFA Europa League campaigns this season. You can also check out our newly created TikTok handle where we'll be posting, I mean, football content in general, a few funny videos and transfer news as well. You can also check us out on Twitter and Instagram. All those links will be in the description. So what we are going to do next is we are going to be answering a few questions from some of our users on Discord, Twitter, etc. So the first question is, Chris, when do you expect the deal that is Sancho to United to be completed?
To be completed, so you mean finalised, everything signed, the medical, the holding up the kit.
Yeah.
So you're looking, you know, you're looking now a bit after the Euros, just after it's finished, and hopefully England have a good campaign for that. United will likely agree a deal before that time, is what's being communicated to me. So we can sit back, relax, watch the Euros, knowing that Sancho is going to be a Manchester United player this summer. And once I know it's been announced, I will make sure that it's posted accordingly, as I always do. So just keep an eye out on that one, because, you know, as I said, transfers work in mysterious ways. You know, today I could be saying something, and then tomorrow I can get a phone call saying that the deal's progressed, and that's how it works in the world of transfers. So, but I will always keep you updated, and I will be transparent in those updates, because I don't like saying the same stuff, and what's being communicated to me will be communicated to the rest of the guys.
Yeah. Well, the next question is, when do you think the bid to get Sancho will be submitted to Dortmund?
So the bid's any moment, really. So that United are just understanding what are the additional bonuses that Dortmund would want. And as soon as they understand that, the bid can go in. Now, I would say that's going to happen over the Euros, from what I know. Now, you know, with transfer bids, United can decide to do it tomorrow, or they can decide to do it on Thursday. Now, someone can tell you, you know, a lot of accounts can tell you a bid's gone in. As you've seen, Fred, a lot of ITKs have done that. Not so much journalists, but they don't actually know, because the club won't communicate that to the journalists, because they don't need to, or ITKs are not going to know when the bid is, because they don't work for Manchester United, so they're not going to know those non-disclosures or the contract agreements or bids or those of that nature. So that's, if anyone tells you a bid's going to happen now or it's happened, it's absolutely nonsense, and you need to stay away from it and wake up to understand where that is. So the bid can be at any point, but I can't give you a direct day because that is inaccurate information and nobody can give you that. That's between the clubs. So they won't tell you until they've actually sent the bid, and then we'll know a few hours later. So, if someone's told you, and I've seen it in the last couple of weeks, a bid's been sent, well, it hasn't, because Dortmund were required to obviously publicly, tell everyone, tell their investors. And obviously we'll see that on the stock market, which is absolutely 100% true, by the way. So nothing's happened or nothing's official yet. So anyone who's told you that is just complete fabrication. So we'll get to know a few hours after it happens. And then they'll start sending it out. But the bid hasn't happened yet. So it can happen at any point, Fred. But nobody, as I said, can tell you when the bid is going in, because they're not Manchester United and they're not working for them. So please ignore the people that are sending that out, because that is not true at all, not valid.
Yeah, well, the person who asked the next question I'm going to ask is probably not going to be very happy with when you said Ed Woodward is going to be involved in the Jadon Sancho deal a bit. I mean, he said, why do United continue to lowball prices in transfers?
They don't lowball prices. They just get the right deal for the cents. I mean, look how much they spent on Pogba. And, in the end, they spent the money on Bruno and they spent the money on Maguire. So they don't lowball prices. They just do it at the times that they feel that they need to do it. Now, the club will have its own strict transfer process, and they will sign players when they feel they need to sign them, not because the media or the fans want it. And that's just the truth. And I know that's harsh, but that's just the way it is. So they don't lowball. They don't start sending bids in for it. You've never seen United send in, or we've sent this bid in, it's been rejected, or we've sent this bid in, it's been rejected. We've never seen that. United send bids in when it gets accepted, and that is, that tends to happen. So people need to understand that they don't lowball clubs at all, or they will just bid when they bid. They're not like other clubs where they'll bid 4 or 5 times and then all of a sudden the deal's done. That's just not how it happens. So that's how United work, and that's how they'll always work. And I know that's frustrated from the fans because they don't understand if they're bidding or they don't know when they're bidding. But that's just the way it is, Fred, on that one. So, I can't say anything different than they're not lowballing it. But in terms of Ed Woodward, Ed Woodward isn't that engaged to the transfers. He's just there helping. But he won't want to leave the club without leaving some sort of legacy behind him, because he's that type of guy, although he's socially awkward sometimes. And some of the stuff he says is just nonsense. He would want to leave there on a high. So, we don't even know who's going to be the head of replace him at the moment. I mean, there's been a few names sent out, but we'll talk about that at a later date, and I'm sure that'll be sorted before during the summer. So let's see. But as I said, they don't lowball clubs at all, and I think you would be on the same agreement with me, Mark, Fred.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest club, and the media are always gonna, push agendas for clicks
absolutely.
and views, etc. So I think that's
which is annoying.
Yeah, it is. I can imagine for a Manchester United fan just seeing all the briefs, etc., coming out every day.
Just to finish off on that question, exactly. Just to finish off on that question, is they get linked to every single player in the world, pretty much, and 99% of those players are not even considered on the list. But people ask the question, is he going to happen? Or is he? And when I don't respond, it's because there's no interest. There's nothing for me to tell you. And I can't keep saying, no, because I don't have the time to do that. So if I don't respond to a question, it's because nothing's happening with it. So, United are one of the biggest club, if not the biggest club in terms of global, networking.
Yeah.
So of course, you're going to get players linked to the club for them to get new contracts or to get another club elsewhere. But United have never been interested in them. So, it's like this Christian Romero. That news is absolute false.
Yeah.
But he will go somewhere else, and this is what happens every summer. and the media play on it, and it's the most annoying thing. And I've seen it in direct that media will, they'll talk between themselves. So when they're working on a day-to-day basis, they will bring up a story because they think it's relevant, and they'll put United tag to it. So it, it's one of those things, and that's what we live in because it sells papers, I'm afraid. So, there's not a lot we can do about that.
Yeah, well, the next question is there a deadline set by Dortmund for a potential deal like we saw last year?
There's no actual deadline, but what I will say is that Dortmund won't want to sell again 2 weeks before the end of the transfer window because they will want a replacement. But it's not going to come to that anyway. So Dortmund set a deadline. If you remember, Fred, they set it quite early on in the summer. So they haven't done it this summer because the deal is confidently going to get done. Whereas they weren't confident last time that United were actually going to pay the money, and they were correct in what they were thinking. But there's no deadline because they know United are going to go and pay the money and go and get Sancho, so they're not concerned. And they're already looking at replacements already, so that tells you something. And there's no other club talking to Sancho at the moment. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, well, the last question is the deal easier without Ed Woodward? I mean, Manchester United hired a new director of football. Is the deal easier without him?
I mean, it's hard to answer that question because those deals are always going to be complicated because the amount of things that are involved in taking a global superstar of that nature to one club. So it doesn't matter if Ed's involved. I mean, people have got this impression that Woodward doesn't know how to negotiate deals. But, they don't really know what Woodward's like. But yes, they did bring in John, who obviously is going to take over more of those responsibilities. But Ed will be, sort of the guidance for him. But he will be the one with Matt doing the negotiations. So I would say, yes, potentially. But there's no difference because they've already spoken to the agent a million times, and I'm sure they're going to pay the agent phone bill at some point. But that's a joke. But as I said, that's already been agreed since last summer, Fred.
Yeah.
So all that needs to be done is to sort it out with Dortmund. Well, there's not a lot of negotiations that need to be done with them. So that's all set. So no, it's just the deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that brings us to the end of our quick Sancho recap and predictions. Now, if you want to hear more news about Jadon Sancho and many other transfers throughout the whole summer window, make sure to join our Discord server, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and obviously our new TikTok handle. There'll be some top quality content coming up on our website in the near future when we are done with all the maintenance work, etc., and some new things. So watch out for it. Chris, is there anything you want to say before we?
Yeah, just the final note on Jadon Sancho. Manchester United will get the deal done. It will happen over the summer. He will be a Manchester United player, barring a major disaster, which if that happens, I will let you know. But it's not going to happen, so we're comfortable with that because Glazers are under pressure to sort that out, which we know. Don't listen to ITKs, and I swear, do not listen to them. Don't listen to official bids going in or people playing on your emotions or recycling the same briefs because they've got no connections to the club. So please ignore that. I've said it thousands of times. If you don't, that's up to you. That's fine. What I say is that be confident this year. Enjoy the European Championships and not try to focus on that too much because you'd be pulling your hair out. And hopefully Manchester United will have a good summer, which what's been communicated to me is looking quite tasty, to be honest. So, which again, is what you've said. A lot of that news will come out on our Discord and potentially Reddit, or we'll have some new stuff going on TikTok and different various platforms like our website and stuff. So there's a lot of good things coming. I appreciate you guys today, and if you do have any questions, please do comment on the YouTube video below, or come into our Discord and have a chat with some of the experienced members of staff that are aware of these kind of shenanigans that go on.
Yeah, well, so hopefully Manchester United do have a good summer window. Hopefully Football League Cup also has a good summer. So stick with us and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Yeah, bye guys.